coding.
So, does anyone have any doubts? Something you thought our length doesn't make sense? Or no, everyone's clear?
Okay, that sounds good.
Maybe we should ask some questions just to be sure.
I think we're good. Okay, let's move on and let's see the promise.all, because that's where we stopped. Basically, we said, okay, we would like to, let's say, write multiple files at the same time and be notified when they are all completed. This is important, when they are all done. All right. So, how do you do this? We said Matthew said promise, and said that's actually a very good idea. And promise.all is exactly what we need. And but promise.all, if you look at this promise.all, it takes those arguments T1, T2. You see those values T1, blah 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 blah, and those are promise-like. You see that? Promise-like. Well, means that we need to write our fs. So now fs is a callback, right? Because it's fs dot, let's say, write file, and then we have our path here, and then we have our some text here, yeah, and then we have a callback, right? Well, this is definitely not promise-like. You agree with me? We need to transform this into a promise-like. But there are two ways to go about this. There's one way we take the promise, it takes the callback and create a promise inside the callback. But Node thought about this and they create a new module which allows to transform callback to promise automatically. And this module is called utils. Require util, and right, const. Cool. So if we go on our documentation, so you go back to this browser and you go to the doc, you will find utilities. And you see this is another core module of Node. And if you go like in the middle of the page nearly, no, at the beginning of the page, there is this util.promisify. And this is exactly our example. You see, we have util and fs. It's taking fs.stat in this example, which is another function of fs, and make it as a promise, as a stat. So now instead of the callback, we will have then and catch. So it's a promise-alike. Does it make sense? So now when I go back to my editor, it means I can do util.promisify and then put fs.write file. Write file p, and p stands for promise. So now this one is a promise. In fact, if I do write file p dot then, sorry, I've done and catch. You see? So that's a promise. So now I need to rewrite this fs.write file sync in this way. So one way I will do that.
Please zoom in a little bit. Zoom in.
You want to zoom in a little bit? Yeah.
Maybe you can close down this. Yeah.
This is better?
Yeah.
Perfect. No problem. Okay, so now I went from a callback style. You see the callback here? From callback to
Promise.
yes, in one line. So that's nice. So now I can use this instead. Put it here. And this is where I'm writing my massive file. And then I have then here, and here I will write my callback. So, so actually this is the function that runs when then is done. So everybody's familiar with promises, I guess. Yeah. So then runs when everything went fine. And then there is another method you can chain. It's like that, and that catch usually something was reject, something went wrong, an error, for example. Yeah. Cool. So then, and I will say file. Let's say console log file run completed. Okay. Let's move that one. I'll do the same here. So this is write file p dot then. This is console.log file 2 completed. So so this one will return a promise. So I can save now this, and we can say const file 2 promise, and here the same const file 1 promise. Okay. So I have file 1 promise, and like in the end here, file 2 promise. And those are my two promises. So if I go back here, I can write promise.all, and here I can pass an array of promises. So file 1 promise, file 2.
As parameter?
Yes. So this means, this reads as follows. When all the promises are done, then run this.
You mean they're successful?
Yeah, well, they are both they're both successful, and they're both done. They're both completed. Yeah. Are completed. That's it. Which completed for me is written in this case. Okay. And then I can have a catch here if you want to, and then we can say error, and I say if error, throw error. So if this is just an error, just show it in my console log. Pretty not much here. And this is the same as this, and it's the same as this. You can write it either way, but if you write in one line, you cannot make the curly braces. Okay. Well, now if I go here, I will check that my file is still there, and there is. I will remove the two files. So you see now, sorry, there is only one file, index.js. So I will run this, and you see file 2 completed, file 1 completed, all files are completed. So I have now 3 notifications, one for each file that I write, and 1 notification when they are both done. And this is very, very comfortable, because now I can be sure to do something when they're both done. So they are run in a concurrent fashion, and when they're both done, this will appear. And this will appear always as lost, independently if this file 1 or file 2 are completed first. This doesn't really matter. This will always run as lost, because we'll wait for both to be done.
Yeah. If we don't have any error, then why should we put catch method here?
Well, you can guarantee that you never have errors.
Because in this situation, there is no error.
Yeah, sure. And this will never execute it, in fact.
In general,
I mean, the point of doing that is you just
might have
catch
error.
it, exactly. You never know if something goes wrong, right? But this
So
way
it
it's a
means if there is typing error or something like
No.
this, then it will.
Now, this is a runtime error. So something goes wrong when the program is running. For example, the path that you have given for the file to be written, for example, you cannot write there. That's not accessible. Or the string that you were giving the file to write, there's something broken in the string, so it cannot be written just as within the character set. So then it would, throw an error. And the good thing about error handling is not that you know that okay, there could be an error here or there could not be. It's when you have bigger complexity, then you're writing hundreds of these, and the program fails at a certain point, then you can trace back what is causing the error. So it's good to handle errors as much as possible. And we'll talk about this a bit more when we start importing files and doing modular programming. Then you absolutely need to do that, or you won't know like why does my program not work.
try catch. Have you guys worked with try catch? No.
Okay. Try and catch. Okay, but it's not important now. So you don't have to worry about it. Maybe we can show some resources so you can read later on about this, and then you can ask questions next week. But this is not the point. The point is that we can use the promise.all to run multiple promises at the same time and be notified when they are all done. All right. There are other flow control style like race, the one that I explained before, the race one, when you ask two promises to run at the same time, and you will be done when one of them is done. The first one is done. That's like kind of a race. Okay? So now I show my example. I would like that you take 25 minutes of your time to write your own example. Tips. Go use read file instead of write file. So you know one more method of the file system. Remember that documentation is your friend. So go on Node.js.org, click on docs, find your Node version, and check out your function, your read function, how to use it. And try to read two files at the same times and print the concat version of what comes from those two files. So you're going to have file 1 and file 2. There will be some text in file 1 and there will be another text in file 2. You need to read them simultaneously, and when they are both done, so you need to do promise.all at some point. When they're both done, you need to console log the text of file 1 concatenated with the text of file 2. That's the exercise. And you've got 25 minutes, and I'm gonna help. And I'll find a recharger of my laptop in the meanwhile.
So is everyone clear about what they have to do?
I'll repeat it. You need to create two files on your file system. So you
Text
file, exactly.
yeah, two text file, two text file.
Read or create?
No, you need to create with your. So you need to go like this.
You have to
Okay,
create
just
like
So
manually.
you manually create two files. Select text 1 and text 2. All right.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
write some stuff in here. Let's say text 1. You write, this is my text for the file 1 with very low creativity, and this is my text for file 2. Okay. So they are not empty. You see. Perfect. So now you need to write a software in here, in index.js, that will, first of all, require the library that you need.
Yeah.
So, for example, fs, and also we need another library.
Until.
Just listen now. Like you can start writing. With
Yeah.
smart
So
code.
yeah. So now you need to require those two modules. Then what you need to do.
Read the file.
So what do you need? You have your fs.read is a promise or is a callback? So read a file with the promises. Well, what exactly means that read a file with promises? That you need to create two promises, right? Promise, create a promise for file 1, create promise for file 2, execute promise with promise.all, use data coming back, concat them, console log. All right. We didn't see this part, but when you have that part, I'll show you how to do that.
Yeah, let's start.
Okay. And remember to use the documentation. Go on Node.js.org docs and find your version and find the read file.
I would also say it's better to start from a completely new index.js file. Just create another folder or something and start from that instead of modifying the code and getting an error because of editing something. You know? So when you're programming, don't try and do all 5 in one time. Do one part, run the file, see if it works, there's no errors, do the next one. So you would struggle less if something breaks in the initial part.
And also you can ask questions to each other. Like I mean, you can help each other. Just no, I'm not sure what to do that.
Read file or read file sync.
Read file.
Read file, yeah, because you want to use the asynchronous version, right?
Bless you.
Has anyone had a power supply for the Mac? That one. This one.
Yeah.
No, that's too new.
Why did you have power?
I might have forgot.
Ah, yeah, right.
Do you have power filter?
We mostly have it in that. It's for the
No, for me. Let me see if this thing. Oh, it's not the same. No, it's not the same.
Yeah, that one is the
Oh,
oldest.
it's the other one.
It's the. Thank you very much, but it's not the same.
I'm not really sure what to do.
So you're gonna ask Christoph.
go verify the process. So first do the transformation. You do the Promisify.
So remember I did this at some point. I did util dot Promisify, and I did fs dot write. In your case, would be read file, and this will be the const read file.
Okay. What's that doing exactly?
Yeah, this is doing this.
Okay.
So basically, you get the function read file, right, and say, okay, well, I transform this to be a promise, to return me a promise instead, right? Because by default it's a callback, right? So this line 5 basically promisifies the function, right? Then you can call it later and
So you
add
can,
dot then when it's completed, right?
so now you need to create the promise for file 1 and 2.
Command plus.
Remember to go to the docs. There are examples.
Plus
that you can actually
you can adjust that using the all program.
look. I need to hunt for everything.
You need to first Promisify, so you can use a promise later, like Marco just wrote. But then it will start doing a promise later.
There is no power supply, therefore I think Roy will take it from here.
You pause the recording.
Yeah, I need to pause this.